From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning. Happy Monday, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. I'm on the road on a Monday, same place I've been for the last several shows that we've done, obviously. I've spent some time here in a beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada at the SANS network security kind of event, but really I took a SANS course, my first ever, and I'll be talking about that probably later this week. I'll probably do like a short video and I'll write about my experience here, which was phenomenal, by the way. So I can't talk about it enough, but I'll give you all the details of what that means. But we've got a packed show for all y'all this morning. It's obviously very early in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 6 a.m. and like there are coffee shops that are open, but it's a walk and it's hot. It's Vegas in September. Again, no coffee, but coffee cup cheers for all y'all having a cup of coffee this morning. Let's get the show going because we have a lot to talk about. CISA finally breaking silence. A significant application, the disclosure of a controversial vulnerability in an application related to the airport security systems. Researcher Ian Carroll and Sam Curry disclosed details of an SQL injection vulnerability that could allegedly allow threat actors to bypass certain airport security systems. This covered in the FlyCast, which was a third-party system for participating in the cockpit access security system. And known crew member programs. Those are the security programs that you kind of see, like flight crew. If you've traveled a lot, like I do, you see these lines. It's essentially where airport and airline personnel go through. So KSA is a program that would allow TSA officers to verify the identity and employment status of crew members, that allows pilots and flight attendants to bypass security screening. It also allows airline gate agents to quickly determine whether a pilot is authorized for an aircraft cockpit jump seat, which is the extra seat. They discovered an SQL injection vulnerability in the system that gave them admin access to the of a participating airline, meaning specifically a threat actor wanting to use that in addition to a physical security aspect could potentially bypass that entire security check and get people who aren't pilots on airplanes. We're September 9th today. We're 2 days away from what I consider to be a significant monumental shift and one of the worst attacks on U.S. homeland in our history. So nonetheless, this definitely shows you some of the vulnerabilities that come with additional security, like TSA. TSA, and really in its infancy, was supposed to be a temporary agency, not a permanent solution. So there's that. In April, I'm aware of a report of the vulnerability, and TSA does not solely rely on the database to identify. They say that it's really not as bad. CISA has not issued a statement regarding the vulnerability other than saying that we are aware of the vulnerabilities affecting software used, and they're working with researchers, government agencies, and vendors to understand it, and they're monitoring it for any exploitation. They haven't seen any yet. How we take that and what that means is we'll figure it out, but not very reassuring here when we see these types of attacks. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Nudge Security. You'll hear from them here in just a minute. But before that, let's go ahead and continue with car rental giant Avis notifying customers that they've experienced a data breach. The data breach notification letter sent to impacted customers on Wednesday of last week and filed with the California Office of the Attorney General, saying the company took action to stop unauthorized access and launched an investigation. The breach occurred in or around August 5th of this year. The investigation revealed that an attacker had access to its business application from August 3rd until August 6th, when the company evicted the malicious actor from its system. They evicted him. I love the word they used there. We evicted the threat actor. So anyway, since the breach, Avis has worked with outside experts, blah, 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 which again, when I say blah, 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 for those of you, like, it's just whenever I've read so many of these data breaches kind of announcements, and they all are pretty much the same at this point. The lawyers and the outside comp people have a script in the IR plan, That script is the exact same words. We're working with outside experts to determine the impact. We take security very seriously, and we're current. And as we become aware of more information, we'll let you know. So there's that. The funny thing is, the company hasn't filed an 8K or 10K with the SEC for breach, meaning I'm not sure if they think that this is going to have material breach, yes or no, on the company. They should have filed it. I haven't seen one. I looked for one. I couldn't find it. So that's really interesting. Nonetheless, it's there. Let's go ahead and continue with a secretive Russian military intelligence unit that was tied to foreign assassinations and destabilizing action in Europe, now being linked to cyber espionage and sabotage operations for the very first time. The military unit is identified as Russia's GRU's 161st Specialist Training Center, Unit 29155. They're very, very different from Fancy Bear. So when you think of these types of units, you think of like Fancy Bear. That's really kind of the Russian unit that everyone goes, all right, well, these guys launched the destructive Whispergate malware that wipes master boot records of computers widely used in the Ukraine and some of its neighbors that don't align with Russian interest. According to the joint advisory issued by law enforcement and cybersecurity agencies in multiple countries, this unit is responsible for cyber operations around the world, including the destructive of wiper malware, sabotage, and cyber espionage. The British government agency says the unit is made up of junior active duty GRU officers, but also uses non-GRU actors, including known cyber criminals and enablers, to conduct their operations. And this goes to the decentralized fashion. These are the alleged threat actors in this unit. These are the 6 individuals that obviously seem very young, except one gentleman right here. Most of them seem they just finished high school, in their early 20s. And again, this kind of goes to the whole and shaming these people. We're naming and shaming these units. We're going to arrest them. No, you're not. They're not going to leave Russia. If they leave Russia, you can assume they may not leave under the same identity, and you're not going to be able to recognize them when they go on vacation to Greece, Spain, Turkey, or whoever, because the Russians are going to let them get caught. So there's one, right? There's that aspect. Number two, you're naming and shaming them. They're going to take that poster. It's going to be on their wall. Like, look, the Americans, the Europeans, they all hate us. We're really, and it's going to be bragging rights. And you got to understand that culture when it comes to these specific threat actors. Additionally, these guys are deploying specific type of wiper malware that are going to that have a significant threat to the ecosystem. And so there's that to also take care of. We stay with Russia because for some reason there was a teenager in Russia who stopped a train by essentially wrapping copper wire around the track. Well, knew who he was, but then somehow investigators uncovered his channel on Telegram. The account being unregistered, an anonymous Estonian SIM card, so not even a Russian card, which was reported by the news site Medusa, said in an article that the Russian teenager is being imprisoned for sabotage, raises questions about how the social media platforms respond to Russian law enforcement requests. Pavel Durov, arrested, the CEO and founder, and we'll talk about him here in just a minute. Pavel Durov was arrested in France. So did he cooperate with the Russians? How did the Russians figure it out? There's a lot to be said there. In this case, it took investigators 7 months to identify him after being unable to recover any fingerprints or DNA from the crime scene. And so, we'll see if this came from Telegram or not. I'm going to say I highly doubt they through Telegram. I think they likely used cell phone location data. Just saying, Russians have very good capabilities in that field. And now, folks, for a message from our friends over at Network Security, make sure you give this a listen.
Do you know who's experimenting with AI in your organization? Our friends over at Network Security have come up with a patented approach for SaaS discovery, giving you a full inventory of all apps ever introduced by anyone in your organizations, and all in minutes. This includes Gen AI applications. The best part is you don't even have to know what you're looking for. You simply do a quick one-time setup. So easy, no change management required, no browser plugins, no net.
I think we may have a problem with the ad. So we're having a little technical difficulties or being on the road. So I'm really sorry about that. We'll try to fix that, get that ad back up to you. But Nudge Security is offering all of our subscribers, all of our listeners, all of our members, everyone a 14-day free trial. Go to nudgesecurity.com/cyberhub. You'll get everything you need there as well. Sonicwall is warning customers about a recently patched Sonic OS vulnerability that's tracked as C2440766 that may be exploited in the wild. Sonicwall announced this on Thursday of last week. This has really kind of been crazy. They updated their advisory on because the vulnerability is being exploited in the wild. And so now they're asking people to really patch their firewalls ASAP. Progress Software issuing another emergency fix for a maximum severity vulnerability that's impacting its Loadmaster and Loadmaster multi-tenant hypervisor products. This would allow attackers to remotely execute commands and on the device. CVE 2024-75901 is an improper input validation problem that allows an unauthenticated remote attacker to access Loadmaster's management interface using a specially crafted HTTP request. So it's possible for that to happen. Loadmaster is an application delivery controller and load balancing solution that's used to optimize app performance, manage network traffic, ensure high service availability of the specific applications that you power this on. So you want to make sure you get that addressed as well. We'll continue here also with kind of a call for filling the gap. What is a risk in the case of a catastrophic cyber event and a multi-billion-dollar gap in terms of what the current insurance market can absorb? This is coming from Marsh McLennan and the Zurich Insurance Group, issuing a call for government intervention. The cyber insurance market has seen significant growth. It's expected to exceed about $28 billion in gross written premiums by 2027. That's more than double the amount they wrote in 2023. Obviously, more and more companies becoming victims of ransomware attacks. The white paper there comes in the backdrop of kind of a black swan event, especially considering after what happened with the CrowdStrike update. The cost from an incident can reach up to $5.4 billion in direct losses for the Fortune 500. In addition, an estimated insured losses were expected to reach around $1 billion. You can also look at NotPetya. They use that as an example. And again, they fearmonger a lot in this report. And they go, the government should get in and fill it. No, that's not the government's role to fill in this market. So there's a few things that go with kind of the misconception in this specific report. And you can read it. It's in the show notes. Treasury's job is not to fill a gap in the cyber market. Your whole approach to saying government should pay for us to pay for cybercrime just seems a bit asinine to begin with. Businesses have business interruption insurance. They have cybersecurity insurance. And those two things should be sufficient. If you need more coverage, then you can up your premium. If you think that you can withstand a $20 or $30 million coverage in both of those, given the fact that an average data breach costs around $4.5 to $5.5 million, although to 20, 30, and we've seen some reach over $100 million, just depends on the company and the cybersecurity posture of that firm and the success of the threat actor and the type of attack that they experienced. And a black swan event is a black swan event. We plan for black swan events, but we're not going to finance all of the black swan events. Hence, look at 9/11. It took years, almost a decade to settle some of the stuff that happened post 9/11. Some of those companies were uninsured, underinsured, and so forth. There was a lot of collateral damage across the country from the 9/11, the September 11th attacks. So again, kind of like government should come in and fill the gap. No, that's not the government's role. I don't want my taxpayer money going to do that. There's other priorities for the government to take care of it. If you can't seem to build a more robust cybersecurity insurance market, then the conversation should switch from paying ransomware attacks to non-paying ransomware attacks, because that would automatically decrease it. The reason ransomware attacks are so darn common and successful is because most companies know that the insurance company will help them pay for it. They end up paying for it, and so it keeps interest. The moment you dry the well and you say, no one's paying a ransomware, no one's paying it, kind of goes away. And now the cyber insurance market will change to data breach reporting. Then if we passed the data breach cost, by the way, 60% of data breach cost is legal. It's not even technical. So if we finally get Congress to do its damn job and pass a data privacy bill, a federal data breach notification bill that eliminates the need to precedes states, that has us report it to one agency, CISA, FTC, whoever, pick an agency, and have us report it there, that would reduce the cost of the breach significantly. However, we never look at the part of the problem. We're always looking at these, like we're always going to government saying, money, please. And that's not the solution here. So there's that. Pavel Durov has broken his silence after being arrested by the French, criticizing the French authorities for detaining him. Pavel pointed out that Telegram has an official representative for the EU region to accept and reply to requests, and the French authorities had access to a hotline he had helped set up. He believes that the established standard practice is to start legal action against the service itself rather than targeting the CEO. He's absolutely right. France is targeting the control of speech. We're seeing that in France. We're seeing that in Brazil. It is very, very disturbing. It's essentially how the Western world and how these governments are trying to control speech through the Ministry of Truth by saying this person is not allowed to be on this platform. This shouldn't be allowed on our platform. People shouldn't see this, like we can't discern information for ourselves. It is our God-given right to discern information, not the government's job to tell us what information to discern. So if we're a democracy, then that should be that. And finally, the U.S. government this week announced the removal of an unnecessary degree requirement in cybersecurity hires. The Serve for America initiative, announced by Harry Cocker, the National Cybersecurity Director at the White House, removes the 4-year degree requirement in federal IT contracts and will push agencies to hire based on experiences, certification, and aptitudes test. That's a great, great move to reduce. I didn't go to college. I mean, I did. I never got a degree, right? And by all means, in most federal jobs, you got to have a 4-year degree, even for an analyst role, which is unnecessary because you can go and take a comp or a SANS class like I just did and get everything you need in a boot camp of a week. Then go take a test, get certified, and be ready to go on the job and really be a contributing member of the team. And so doing that is a good first step. Hopefully other organizations will follow through in order to make cybersecurity jobs more accessible for great, great candidates. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, with all the latest and greatest. Until then, please tune in. Go check out our friends over at Nudge Security. Again, nudgesecurity.com/CyberHub. Find out who's using Gen AI in your environment by using that, and then we'll air that out again tomorrow for all of y'all to see. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.